When I was 8, I was playing hide-and-seek with my brother and our friend when we ran into human traffickers. My brother, Leo, pointed frantically down an alley. Ava, run that way. I'll lead them off. But it was a dead end. I was captured and spent the next decade in a living hell. When I finally escaped and made it home, I found that my childhood friend, Chloe Lee, had become the family's adopted daughter. Worse, she had married my brother and they had a child. Chloe pointed at me, her face twisted in disgust. She's filthy, like a beggar. Who knows what diseases she's carrying? Our child is so young. The next day, their son had a fever. In the middle of a snowstorm, my parents shoved me out the door. There's no place for you here anymore. The door slammed shut behind me. I had nowhere to go. I froze to death in the snow. Only then did I understand. My brother had deliberately sent me to be kidnapped to make room for Chloe. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of that hide-and-seek game. This time, it was their turn to taste a decade of suffering. Ready or not, here I come. I'll count to 30 and then I'm looking for you too. My brother's back was to us as he started counting, his voice just as doting and gentle as I remembered. Chloe turned to hide behind a large oak tree, but I grabbed her hand with a smile. I know a better spot. Leo will never find us there. Her eyes lit up. Really? Where? I pulled her toward the dead-end alley. She hesitated, trying to pull back. Your brother said I'm not allowed to go in there. Let's find somewhere else. Of course, it had all been planned. He hadn't told her the full plan, probably worried she'd slip up if our parents questioned her. To sacrifice his own sister for a girl he'd only known for 3 months. What a dear brother he was. I smiled sweetly, reassuring her. He probably just said that because there are so many good hiding spots here. He was afraid he'd never find you. Don't worry, just hide here and wait for him to give up. Hearing this, Chloe stopped resisting and eagerly found a spot in the corner. Once she was hidden, she waved a little hand at me. Okay, Ava, you should hide somewhere else. If we're together, it'll be too easy for your brother to find us. A knowing smirk touched my lips. Alright, you stay hidden right here, and don't come out no matter what you hear. Even if she hadn't said it, I was leaving. But first, I had something important to do. I hid behind a large tree just a few feet from my brother, letting the yellow hem of my dress peek out. He spotted me easily. Got you, Ava. You lose. Where's Chloe? I pointed innocently toward the dead-end alley. I think she went that way. The smile on Leo's face froze, replaced by a flash of panic. He broke into a sprint, tearing toward the alley. He had never shown that much concern the day I was taken. Just then, a beat-up van pulled up to the mouth of the alley. The traffickers went straight for the dead end. 2 burly men emerged, each carrying a child. They looked thrilled. They must have expected one, so getting 2 was a buy one get one free deal. From behind the tree, I watched them toss my unconscious brother and Chloe into the van like sacks of potatoes. It was just like my past life, only I had been so lonely. This time, they had each other for company. Humming a little tune, I strolled home under the setting sun, the coffee table laden with snacks, the cartoon playing on the TV, the soft couch. It was all exactly as I remembered. I sank into the cushions, savoring everything I had missed. It wasn't until dark that my parents came home. Not seeing my brother, my dad frowned. Ava, where's Leo? I feigned innocence. I don't know. We were playing hide and seek, but then he just disappeared. My mother grew anxious. What do you mean, disappeared? Take us to where you were playing. There are so many kidnappers these days. We told you not to play outside. I pouted, my voice trembling. I didn't want to go out. I wanted to stay home and watch TV, but Leo insisted the weather was too nice. He and Chloe begged me to go with them. It was the truth. In my past life, I hadn't wanted to go, but Leo had dragged me out, knowing exactly where the traffickers would be. Just as we were heading out, Chloe's parents arrived looking for her. Mr. and Mrs. Song, your son took our daughter out to play this afternoon. It's getting late. We've come to take her home. My parents' faces went pale. My dad fumbled for his phone and called 911. The police arrived quickly. They searched the alley, the park, the school, everywhere they could think of, but found nothing. My parents cried day and night. Chloe's parents fainted several times. I figured by now Leo and Chloe had been sold and resold half a dozen times. The chances of finding them were 0. It was then that I pointed to a van on a TV crime show. I saw a big van like that when we were playing hide and seek. I mumbled, as if to myself, but it was dirtier, and the man inside looked really mean. My mother grabbed my hand, her voice tight with tension. You saw a van like that? Are you sure? I nodded seriously. I even remember the license plate. The police were faster than I expected. 3 hours later, they had the traffickers in custody. They even found a 5-year-old girl in the back of the van, her head shaved and dressed in boys' clothes. It was a professional ring. The traffickers confessed to the recent kidnapping but denied all prior cases. The charges were serious enough to put them away for life, so admitting to more wouldn't change much. And the trail for the other children was already cold. The police had no other leads. Chloe's parents, however, were not so easily appeased. Your son is the one who took our daughter. Now she's been kidnapped, and you have to take responsibility. If you can't bring her back, you'll compensate us. Give us this house, or we'll make your lives a living hell. We'll protest at your company. At least you still have a daughter. We have no one. Chloe's mother sat on our doorstep, wailing and making a scene. My mother tried to reason with her. It was the traffickers' fault. Our son is missing too. You can't be so unreasonable. In response, Chloe's father started smashing things in our house, cursing our family. When my dad tried to stop him, they started fighting. Soon, my mom was in a screaming match with Chloe's mom, hurling the ugliest insults imaginable. I sat comfortably on the sofa, eating chips and watching the drama unfold. In my past life, these two families had been incredibly close. They had even bought neighboring houses. Now, Chloe's parents were a force to be reckoned with. They hired a group of thugs to basically move into our house. They didn't get violent. They just stayed, ate our food, and loudly demanded their daughter back. Calling the police was useless. The chaos continued day after day until my parents finally caved. They agreed to sign the house over to Chloe's parents and signed a contract stating they would have no further contact. On the day we moved, my parents stood on the street and wept. My dad cried for the house he grew up in. My mom cried because it was a prime downtown property. Those damn people, she seethed. It serves them right their daughter was taken. It's karma that they'll have no one to carry on their name. Then she shot me a resentful look. Why did it have to be your brother? If it had been you, I wouldn't be this heartbroken over losing the house. I pressed my lips together, looking pitiful. I'm sorry, Mom. If I could trade places with Leo, I would. I know you and Dad love him more because he's a boy. If I could, I'd want to be a boy too. I'll study hard, make a lot of money for you and Dad, and I'll find Leo. My words seemed to move my father. He picked me up. This wasn't your fault, sweetie. You don't have to apologize. What's past is past. From now on, we'll be a family and live a good life. I looked down, admiring my brand new leather shoes. They were the most expensive shoes they had ever bought me in 2 lifetimes. Before, I wore cheap, ill-fitting shoes from discount stores, while my brother wore designer brands that cost 10 times as much. But it didn't matter. From now on, I was the only one who would be wearing shoes at all. Our new house was smaller, but it was right next to my school, which was convenient. Without Leo, all the family's resources were mine. The meals on the table were my favorites, and I was enrolled in tutoring and piano lessons. I transformed from a timid, insecure girl into a confident, radiant young woman. No one had ever called me pretty before, but now I was receiving love letters and confessions. I didn't disappoint my parents. I was consistently in the top 3 of my class and would occasionally mention seeing profitable business opportunities on TV. At first, they were skeptical, but soon they were calling me their lucky star. They invested in every project I mentioned. In just 3 years, they went from being small business owners with a few $100,000 in assets to millionaires. Even so, my mother would often bring up my brother. I wonder how Leo is doing. Is he eating well? Is anyone bullying him? My father would sigh and take a drink. I'll send some people to look for him tomorrow. Such deep father-son love. Of course, Leo had to be found, but not yet. I chose my words carefully. Mom, Dad, I miss Leo terribly too, but we have to be discreet. The company is at a critical point, and so many competitors are watching you. If we make a big deal out of it, we could attract all sorts of fake relatives or even threats. Our business partners might think you've made some dangerous enemies. They both nodded in agreement. As much as they missed their son, they loved their business more. To prevent them from finding Leo too soon, I decided to find a brother myself to take his place. As soon as the thought occurred, a clear, handsome face appeared in my mind, the only person who had shown me kindness in my past life, the one who gave me a proper burial, after my parents had thrown me out. I was caught in a once-in-a-century blizzard, wearing only a thin nightgown, desperate to survive. I knocked on the door of every house with its lights on, but no one answered. Just as I was about to freeze to death, he stopped his car and rushed me to the hospital, but it was too late. My body temperature was too low. In a daze, I heard him tell a friend, his voice thick with guilt, if only I had left a little earlier, I could have saved her. We were strangers, yet he was the only source of warmth in my previous life. My parents refused to claim my body, afraid of the medical bills and cremation costs. He was just a college student starting his own business, barely making ends meet, yet he bought me a small burial plot. Like you, I never had a real home in life, he'd said. You should at least have your own place in death. Life is hard, isn't it? Maybe we'd be better off not being human next time. Yes, life was incredibly hard, but fate had pitted me and given me a second chance. This time, it was my turn to save him. When I saw the 12-year-old Caleb Liu at the group home, I felt a sense of déjà vu. He was sitting under a large banyan tree, reading a book in the dappled sunlight. He was so serene and gentle, practically glowing. In that moment, I understood why he, despite his own suffering, had reached out to help me. Some people are just born with compassion. What are you reading? I asked, walking up to him. He handed me the book, War and Peace. Do you want to read it? Read it to me, I said seriously. He paused for a second, then nodded. I lay down on the grass next to him. The summer breeze was warm, his voice was low and soothing, and I slowly closed my eyes. For the first time in a long, long time, I slept soundly. Ever since I was trafficked, and even after my rebirth, I'd never had a peaceful night's sleep. I would always wake up in a panic, terrified it was all just a beautiful dream, and I would wake up back in that hellish adoptive home. When I woke up, Caleb's jacket was draped over me. He was leaning against the tree, asleep. The setting sun cast a brilliant, colorful glow behind him, but I couldn't bear to look. I had never dared to hope for anything too beautiful. This time, however, I wanted to be greedy with Caleb. Convincing my parents to adopt Caleb wasn't easy. They were still waiting for their son to return for a family reunion. So, I staged my own kidnapping. Just as my frantic parents were about to call 911, I returned, covered in scratches. Mom, Dad, I cried. I almost never saw you again. They were going to sell me after they got the money, but I escaped when they went out to eat. My mother hugged me, sobbing, "Thank God you're safe." I can't imagine what we would have done. My father's eyes were red as he agreed. The security here is terrible. We're moving, getting you into a better school, and hiring bodyguards. I looked up, my face streaked with tears. Mom, Dad, why don't you adopt a brother for me? He could protect me, and boys are more valuable. If kidnappers come again, they won't take me. My parents hesitated for only a moment before agreeing. An unknown son who might be dead or alive versus a daughter who was right here, their best bet for the future. The next day, I took them to the group home. They were immediately impressed with Caleb. He was clean-cut, well-spoken, and had excellent grades. His father had been the CEO of a publicly traded company before a gambling addiction wiped them out, leaving behind massive debts. After his parents committed suicide, Caleb, once a golden child, was shunned by all his relatives and sent into the foster system. 2 different childless couples had adopted him, but both sent him back after getting pregnant themselves within 6 months. After that, he refused to be adopted again, until he met me. We were the same age and had a lot in common. Plus, my parents were too old to have another child, but because he had been abandoned so many times, he was still hesitant. I took his hand. "I'll protect you, trust me." He looked down at me and softly said, "Okay." My parents breathed a sigh of relief. While they had initially thought of just getting anyone to be my brother, they were genuinely taken with how exceptional Caleb was. Caleb moved into the bedroom that had been prepared for Leo. It was spacious, beautifully decorated, and he was treated exactly like me, a true son. He didn't disappoint them. He got into the city's most prestigious private high school with top scores on both his entrance exam and interview. He shone at school, not just academically but socially. A group of rich kids and kids of officials would come over on weekends for barbecues, swimming, and studying. Through these connections, my parents' company reached a new level, even expanding into international trade. Meanwhile, I graduated as valedictorian, making my parents ecstatic. Once you reach a certain level of wealth, your children's achievements become the ultimate status symbol. My graduation party was a grand affair. It was Caleb's official debut into society. My parents had him change his last name to ours. "This is my daughter and son, Ava and Caleb Song," my dad proudly announced. "They've been smart and sensible since they were little. We were always busy with work, so they taught themselves. Now they're learning the ropes at the company. They may be young, but they have a real talent for business. Many of our best projects and proposals came from them." Coming from anyone else, it might have sounded like boasting, but my parents had the results to back it up. I was a valedictorian with a network of elite classmates. Caleb, while still a freshman in college, had just secured the biggest contract in the company's history, enough to sustain them for 3 years. The guests were full of envy. To have one genius in the family is a blessing. Your family has two. In 10 years, the whole city will belong to the Songs. Money is easy to make these days, but good kids are hard to raise. You two are truly enviable. My parents beamed, their smiles stretching from ear to ear. Caleb handed me a slice of cake. "What are you thinking about? You didn't even notice your favorite cake." I took it and smiled. "I was waiting for you to get it for me." He gave me a look of fond exasperation. "You're still so lazy after all these years." "I am not lazy," I complained, taking a small bite. "You're the only person in the world who says I'm lazy." He noticed a smear of frosting on my mouth and gently wiped it with his handkerchief. "How are you not lazy? You're getting worse. The first time I met you, you were too lazy to read a book and made me read to you. Then you fell asleep. You never did your homework over school breaks. You always sweet-talked me into doing it for you. And what about all those school projects? Who do you think made them for you every single time?" I guiltily looked away. He was right. I couldn't argue. Now that Caleb and I had solidified our positions and had enough power, it was time for Leo and Chloe to return. It was a beautiful, clear day. My family was sitting in the garden of our villa, admiring a $500,000 porcelain vase my father had bought at auction. When the doorbell rang, Leo and Chloe stood at the gate, holding a 3-year-old boy. "Mom, Dad, we finally found you." Leo, filthy and with a long scar on his forehead, burst into tears. "We've been looking for you for so long. We barely escaped from that remote village. We went to our old house, but strangers were living there. If I hadn't found a newspaper with your picture, I never would have found you. This is Chloe. She was kidnapped with me. Now she's my wife. And this is your grandson." He rambled on, tears and snot streaming down his face, but my parents just stared back, their faces filled with disgust. I covered my mouth and frowned. "You smell awful, and you're so dirty. You don't have some kind of disease, do you?" Leo's eyes turned crimson. He pointed a trembling finger at me. "Ava, if it weren't for you, Chloe and I would never have been kidnapped. I'm going to kill you for this. Do you have any idea what kind of hell we've lived through?" He lunged at me, but before his hand could touch me, Caleb grabbed his wrist. "The traffickers kidnapped you," Caleb said, his voice cold with anger. "Why are you blaming Ava?" Despite his gentle appearance, Caleb had been taking self-defense classes for 6 years and was surprisingly strong. Leo's face contorted in pain. "Let go of me. This is my house. What right do you have to interfere in my family's business?" I smiled. "Oh, he's not an outsider. This is my brother, Caleb Song." Leo stared, dumbfounded. "He's your brother? Then who am I?" My mother finally spoke, her tone annoyed. "He's our adopted son, but we treat him like our own. Since you're back, you can stay, but don't cause any trouble. Your son can stay, but Chloe has to go." Leo immediately panicked, forgetting about Caleb. "Mom, Chloe can't leave. She's my wife. She took care of me all these years, or I would have starved to death. And look, she gave you a beautiful grandson. Junior, say hi to Grandma and Grandpa." He lifted the child towards my parents. The little boy hadn't been bathed in days. His eyes were crusted over, small and beady, and his nose was flat. He was repulsive. My parents instinctively recoiled. The sudden movement startled the child, who began to cry and struggle, trying to get back to his mother. But Leo held on tight, trying to force my parents to hold their grandson and awaken some parental affection. In the struggle, the boy's flailing arm knocked the porcelain vase off the table. Crash! The $500,000 antique shattered into pieces. My father exploded. "When are you going to stop this nonsense? Do you know how much that vase cost? $500,000. And you just destroyed it. If you hadn't been so reckless, dragging Chloe into that stupid game, would any of this have happened? This is your own damn fault." And you know why strangers are living in our old house? Because her parents blamed us for her disappearance and demanded we give them the house as compensation. And you have the nerve to blame your sister? Chloe immediately fell to her knees. Mom, Dad, I apologize on behalf of my parents. I'll never see them again. I'll never support them in their old age. I'm married to Leo now, and I've given you a grandson. I'm part of the Song family now. You can't kick me out. She sobbed and banged her head on the floor until her forehead was red and raw. My parents, seeing this, relented. Fine, just behave yourself from now on. Chloe nodded profusely, her voice choked with gratitude. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I'll be good, I promise. What a performance. If I hadn't seen her true, venomous self in my past life, I might have almost believed her. Leo, Chloe, and their child were given a small guest room on the first floor. It wasn't spacious, but to them, it was paradise. They had maids and a chauffeur, things they couldn't have even dreamed of before. For the first 2 weeks, my parents forbade them from eating at the main table. Only after they had full physicals to confirm they had no communicable diseases and underwent etiquette training were they allowed to join us for meals. Leo and Chloe endured the humiliation, their faces plastered with subservient, fawning smiles, acting more deferential than the household staff. After more than half a month of this, my parents' attitude toward them softened. My mother even gave Leo a credit card. The limit is $1 million. Go out and buy yourself some decent clothes. It's embarrassing to see you dressed so shabbily all the time. Leo and Chloe's eyes lit up. Thank you, Mom, Leo exclaimed. Chloe stopped him, feigning humility. Mom, we have everything we need at home. You should keep this money for yourself. She thought this display of thriftiness would impress my mother. In an ordinary family, any mother-in-law would love to hear that. But our family's assets were in the hundreds of millions. We weren't afraid of spending money, we were afraid of small-mindedness. My mother's expression instantly soured. I toyed with the $10 million Rolex on my wrist, my smile dripping with scorn. You'd better take it, sister-in-law. Anyone who didn't know better would think we're going bankrupt. $1 million is what we might spend on a single shopping trip. My watch alone could cover your allowance for a year. If you have free time at home, you should watch some high-fashion runway shows, learn some brands. Otherwise, you'll just embarrass Mom and Dad when you go out. My words were harsh. Chloe and Leo's faces went pale, then red. I saw a flicker of jealousy and rage in their eyes, gone in an instant, but I saw it. Leo suppressed his anger. Ava, you don't have to be so cruel. I just smiled. I'm only trying to help you. Since you've been back, we haven't dared to bring business partners home for dinner. We have to entertain them out, which is expensive and time-consuming, and it makes them think we don't value them enough. My father frowned. From now on, just say they're distant relatives visiting. When we have guests, they are not to make an appearance. The color drained from Leo and Chloe's faces. After groveling for so long, they thought they were finally being accepted. Reality had just slapped them across the face again. Leo glared at me with hatred. I just smiled back, a provocative, dismissive arch of my lips. This was nothing, not even a tenth of the humiliation they put me through. The days ahead were long. After my shower, as I was about to dry my hair, Caleb brought me a plate of fruit. I settled onto the chaise lounge, and he instinctively picked up the hairdryer. He smiled, a mix of helplessness and affection in his eyes. You really are something else. I leisurely ate the cherries he'd brought, enjoying his service. He gently dried my hair while asking curiously, "You seem to have a real animosity towards your brother and Chloe. They've only been back a few days, and they seem okay. Their behavior is a bit off, but that's due to their environment. You already control the majority of the company's shares. They're no threat to you." I held out my hand to spit out a cherry pit, and Caleb's hand was already there to catch it. A familiar, natural gesture. I looked up at him seriously. "What if I told you," I said slowly, "that the traffickers showing up during our game of hide-and-seek wasn't a coincidence? Leo intended for me to be kidnapped, but I got lucky and escaped." Caleb's gentle eyes turned cold. "Then you're being too soft on them. If they tried it once, they'll try it again." I giggled. This was the brother I had chosen. Kind, but not foolishly so. I had planned to toy with them slowly, but his words were a wake-up call. If Leo was that ruthless at 10, he certainly wasn't a saint now. The only reason he was holding back was the fantasy that as the son, our parents would eventually give him the company. It was time to force his hand. That weekend, my parents were at a banquet. Caleb and I were in the sunroom in the garden, enjoying afternoon tea. Caleb, the company's anniversary gala is next weekend. Do you think Mom and Dad will announce the heir? I mused, then smiled. Well, whether it's you or me, it's definitely not going to be my useless brother. Caleb chuckled. Of course not. He may be their biological son, but he's just not presentable. I took an elegant sip of tea. True. I used to worry he'd compete with us, but after seeing him, I'm not worried anymore. Mom and Dad doted on him when he was little because he was smart and handsome, someone they could show off. But the other day, when guests came, they told them Leo and Chloe were the servants' children. They've used up all their old affection for him. They'll probably kick them out in a few days. They'll give them some money and a house so they won't starve, but they'll never be truly wealthy. After speaking, I glanced toward a flash of blue among the flower bushes. Chloe and Leo, don't disappoint me. Of course, Leo didn't. At dinner that night, he got straight to the point. Mom, Dad, Chloe and I want to go to the company's anniversary gala. He wasn't stupid enough to believe everything Caleb and I had said. My father frowned, displeased. What would you do there? A wounded look crossed Leo's face. I'm your son. Why can't I go? Don't tell me you really plan to give the company to Caleb or Ava. My father sneered. It's my company. I'll give it to whoever I want. After weeks of bottling it up, Leo finally exploded. Mom, Dad, I'm your biological son. Ava is a daughter. She'll get married and leave. Caleb is an outsider. You'd rather give the company to them than to me? If you really can't stand me, what about my son? He's your grandson. I refused to let them have the company. My parents' faces darkened. I spoke first. Brother, if you want the company that badly, Caleb and I will step aside and let you inherit it. A flash of joy crossed Leo's face, but my mother cut in sharply. Absolutely not. Your brother knows nothing. He would ruin the company. Instantly, Leo's face turned to stone, a venomous look in his eyes. His last shred of hope in our parents was gone. My mother pursed her lips. She had been about to tell him that while he wouldn't inherit the company, he would receive 20% of the shares and a massive trust fund that would make him rich for life. But the tense atmosphere made her swallow her words. I smiled to myself. The misunderstanding was planted. This was going to be fun. That night, as Caleb was drying my hair, he asked, "Weren't you afraid your parents would tell him about the shares and the trust fund at the dinner table? That's probably more money than inheriting the company." I sipped my bird's nest soup and smiled. Mom wanted to, but not in front of Chloe. They've never liked her. Her parents not only took their house but also subjected them to a period of deep humiliation. Caleb chuckled. You're a brave gambler. I pulled a document from my purse. Actually, I showed them a little something earlier. A paternity test. Chloe's son isn't my brother's. Under those circumstances, how could they bring it up? What if Chloe tried to make a claim? The company is too busy right now, so Dad plans to tell Leo later, after they've found him a more suitable match. My brother is a hopeless romantic. He might not even believe a paternity test without some preparation. Caleb stared at the report, shocked. How did you know the child wasn't his? I peeled a grape, my expression placid. They were trafficked to a remote, dirt-poor village, a place that eats people alive. If Chloe wanted to survive, she had to make sacrifices. The company's anniversary gala was a huge event, attended not just by employees but by industry titans. Leo and Chloe ended up coming after all. My mother's heart had softened, but she strictly forbade them from causing a scene. I found Leo standing awkwardly in a corner and sauntered over with a glass of champagne. Brother, it's just a company party, no need to be so nervous. And don't blame Mom and Dad for not publicly acknowledging you. The lowest degree here is a bachelor's. There are PhDs and Ivy Leaguers everywhere. You have an elementary school education. You couldn't even get hired as a janitor. Mom and Dad already told me they're announcing me as the heir tonight. If you behave, I'll make sure you're taken care of. Leo's knuckles turned white as he gripped his champagne flute. You're not the heir yet. Don't get ahead of yourself, he hissed, before turning and whispering something to Chloe, who was sitting on a nearby sofa. Chloe's eyes widened, a greedy light shining within them. I smirked. The fish was on the hook. Sure enough, 5 minutes before my parents were scheduled to go on stage, Leo approached them, a glass of champagne in hand, his face a mask of remorse and obedience. Mom, Dad, I was wrong before. I was so focused on myself. I thought you were being unfair by not giving me the company. But coming here tonight, I see how massive this operation is. Giving the company to Ava or Caleb is the right choice. Please don't be angry with me, and please don't kick me out. I promise I'll behave from now on. His posture was low, his tone sincere. He was their son, after all. My parents' anger melted away. They readily accepted the champagne he offered and took a sip. A triumphant, vengeful glint flashed in Leo's eyes. Caleb appeared at my side. Ava, what are you looking at? You look so happy. I laughed, my voice full of meaning. It's a day for triple celebration. Of course I'm happy. Caleb stroked my hair affectionately. I've never seen you smile like this. Care to share? I winked playfully. You'll see in a minute. Though curious, Caleb didn't press. He stayed by my side, deflecting drinks and, it could be said, potential suitors. Ever since middle school, whenever a handsome boy showed me the slightest interest, Caleb would appear to shut it down. You're a student. You need to focus on your studies, was his excuse. In college, his reasons became more creative. That guy has a mole near his eye. He's a player. His cheekbones are too high. He'll bring you bad luck. He's too skinny. He can't protect you. He's a bookworm. He'd be boring. In return, whenever a beautiful girl got close to him, I would show up and parrot his own lines back at him, and he would immediately distance himself to maintain the integrity of his previous arguments. The piano music began, and my father took the stage. It's an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you for your hard work this year. We wouldn't be here without you. Tonight, I also have an important announcement. We are welcoming a new member to the board of directors, Leo Song, who will also serve as the company's honorary vice president. Leo, standing in the audience, froze. My mother gently patted his shoulder. Your father and I have already signed the share transfer agreement. We're giving you 20%. We've also set up a trust fund for you. The profits from this will be more than enough. You're our biological son. How could we ever neglect you? Leo's voice trembled. Then, why didn't you tell me sooner? My mother pulled the paternity test from her purse and handed it to him. It's not that we didn't want to. We've been too busy, and you and Chloe were always together. This is the test for your son. He's not yours. If you don't believe it, you can get another one done secretly. Before she could finish, my mother's face went white. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She opened her mouth to speak, but blood trickled out, and she collapsed. At the same time, my father, mid-speech on stage, spurted blood and fell to the ground. Leo clutched his head and sank to the floor, letting out a hysterical, gut-wrenching wail. The banquet hall erupted in screams. Caleb calmed the guests while I called 911. My parents were pronounced dead at the scene from poisoning. It was a clear-cut homicide. Everyone present was questioned, and all security footage was reviewed. The suspect was quickly identified, my brother, Leo. Chloe shed a few crocodile tears. How could Leo do something so foolish? But you can't blame him. It was his parents' fault for being so biased. Junior and I will wait for him to get out. We'll be a family again. Even though Leo is in prison, he's their son. He must get a share of the company, and the inheritance must be split evenly. You can't bully a widow and her orphan. I've already contacted a lawyer. If you short us by a single penny, I'll make a scene at your company. I crossed my arms, a grim smile on my face. Like father, like daughter, you're just like your parents, throwing tantrums. But let's not worry about the money just yet. Are you sure Leo won't turn you in? A flicker of fear crossed Chloe's eyes before she blustered. Don't you dare make things up. I had nothing to do with this. I didn't know anything, and Leo would never frame me. I'm his wife. I gave him a son. I smiled faintly. Are you sure that son is my brother's? The color drained from Chloe's face. Just as she was about to argue, police sirens wailed outside. Officers strode in and cuffed her. Chloe Lee, Leo Song has confessed. The poison was from you. He says you instigated the entire murder plot. Chloe shrieked hysterically. You're lying. He would never betray me. He loves me too much. And he did. Leo had planned to take the fall, having consulted a lawyer who assured him he wouldn't get a life sentence, maybe 10 years, which could be reduced to 7 or 8 with a good legal team. But at the last moment, he learned not only that he had misunderstood his parents' intentions, but that the child wasn't his. He channeled all his rage and betrayal onto Chloe. He wanted revenge. He wanted her to suffer. Chloe didn't get the death penalty, but because she bought the poison and Leo testified that she was the mastermind, she was sentenced to 12 years. Leo got 8. It wasn't life, but every day inside would be a living hell. They would get out eventually, but it would be a fate worse than death. The house felt empty with 5 fewer people, but the flowers in the garden seemed to bloom more brilliantly than ever. MS. Song, The international conference call starts in 5 minutes, my secretary said, knocking on my office door. I frowned. Have Caleb lead it. My secretary looked helpless. Mr. Song said his goddess is hungry and he needs to go home and cook for her, so he's not working late. He said you have to run the meeting. I was stunned. When did he get a goddess? Her face was full of envy. I don't know, but Mr. Song said his goddess is the most beautiful, gentle, and intelligent woman in the world. He said their childhood sweethearts have been together since they were 12, and that he plans to win her over for good tonight. Ms. Song, you grew up with him. You must know who she is. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. You haven't had much of an appetite lately. I'm making you seafood congee. Come home early after work. It was followed by a selfie of him holding up a king crab claw. His white shirt was damp, revealing his six-pack. Ms. Song, why is your face so red? Ms. Song, where are you going with your bag? What about the meeting? I licked my lips, grabbed my bag, and strode out of the office. Cancel it. I'm going home for congee. I had cultivated this for long enough. It was time to enjoy the fruits of my labor.